Hello, everyone, and welcome to the draft / cast assessment for Como Bluff Season 7. And we've got a great group of people here. We have John, Carrie, Benji, Lilly, Ian, shockingly, is here for a draft, Austin, and Kyle. It is Benji's first time drafting as a member of production for this season. Welcome, welcome. I'm sure everyone will not be kind to you. All right. John won, like, it's crazy. It's stupid how much John won the Corkscrew Cove draft. So, John, please tell us your order of where you are putting people in this draft.
So, I just want to make sure we're not brushing it under the rug here. If you combined second and third place, they just beat me in that last draft. So, I
Okay.
did a little bit.
Y'all, please.
Someone.
I don't even know. Well, it's not even a points-based draft here, as we all know. For the minis, it's just winner takes all. Just make sure John doesn't get to take anything.
Well, let's start off with this draft order then, because I thought I would be kind and courteous and only give myself one pick this season. So I will be taking the first overall pick, despite the fact I did reach out to Benji and was like, "Hey, Benji, you're on prod for the first time. This is your first production draft. What position do you want?" He's like, "I want first to ensure I get this person." I'm like, "Well, I'm not taking that person, so I can put myself in front of Benji." Then somebody else, I had to thank Carrie for putting me in the perfect position to win that last draft. and Carrie said she wanted a second. So I made a little bit of a conversation there, made sure some things. So Carrie will be going second and Benji will be going third, because Benji, ultimately why I didn't want to give you first overall, not because no one's going to snipe you, don't worry. I've made sure you're good.
Harry, I'll tell you to
I
pick it.
I didn't want you in your first production draft to only pick one person.
I
wanted you to have a little more power.
I know who's winning the game. John is currently being meaner to me than the cast of Corkscrew Cove.
Well, what can I say? That's what I'm here for. Next, I had a little bit of trouble trying to decide, but while I was making the draft order, Lilly said, "Hey, I want either second or third." I'm like, "Well, both of those are taken, so you get fourth instead."
I'll take it.
Ian and I have been, talking about some stuff and what we're going to do after this draft. So Ian gets fifth. Just put him in there.
Whoa, what are you doing after the draft?
We're watching horror movies, like we do.
With the right stuff.
Yeah. And then, so that takes me down to Austin and Kyle. And quite frankly, I asked who wanted the wheel, and Kyle was the only one who didn't object. So Kyle's in 8th and Austin's in 7th.
Okay.
All
right. Thank you, John, for your description on why you put people where. So that leaves you with the first pick. Where are you going?
Well, I looked at this cast, and there are a lot of fantastic candidates on this cast. Lots of people to choose from, but I have to go with a favorite of mine. Someone who I know I was a favorite of at one point, and I am leading off this draft with Julia Rowe.
That's fucking bullshit.
I
can't believe McKenna.
That's why I am taking her.
We were a few minutes into this, and we already had to wipe out an F-bomb.
It's all right. I'll let that one slide.
Okay, John, speak on Julia Rowe.
Yeah.
I mean, Julia is fantastic. Julia's been around the org community for so long. Is good friends with many people on production and past contestants. And quite frankly, I think she is one hell of a player. And I think her ability to work with people, to cooperate with people, and to strategize in this game is nearly unparalleled. And I have very high hopes, and I think she has an incredibly high winner potential.
I agree. But before I get to my thoughts, we had one person very much object to your pick. Ian, what are your thoughts?
Well, earlier today I wasn't supposed to be in this shit, and now here I am, and I told everyone who I would have picked, but it's whatever. That's who it would have been. You know, I have a lot of friends. I'm one person who would say I don't need more friends. I don't want more friends, but if I could, I think Julie is awesome. So
Awesome. Well, I've got to be on production for 2 of Julia's live games that she played. One of them she won, and then another she got a pre-merge boot, which I think she's coming right off of that pre-merge boot, ready and like, oh, let me reset a second. Because sometimes for someone who does well in games, to get that pre-merge like reset could really hit them and turn them like the right way for their next game. So I'm excited to see what she can do in this one.
Yeah. I'm excited for her confessionals. I'm gonna be fully
She's
honest
Team
here.
TV.
She's Team TV, and as soon as she sent an application, I'm like, she's in the cast. It does not matter. I'm sorry. Sometimes there's a fun enough player where the interview is a formality. That's Julia. Like the placement could literally be anywhere. I would love to see a Julia win. I was also there on Prod when she won the live game. Shout out to competitive events for that one, but she's very good. She's very good. I think the only thing is if she doesn't vibe with her group, I do think at times it's hard for her to not show it. And if that's the case, that's where she'll find trouble early on. But if she can get her strategic grip on the game, she isn't gonna be touched until like final 6.
Yeah. Awesome. Great pick, John. That means we move over to Carrie.
Okay. My pick is Ava. So I am excited about Ava for a few reasons. First of all, I think that she has a good vibe. Second of all, because she is a gal, and I think that a woman is going to win this.
About time.
They're
It's more
undefeated in DCP minis.
It's more than due. It's more than time to have a female winner here. Third of all, because she is in the Michigan live game community, and we've had some good players out of that Michigan live game community. I feel like they produce good players. I feel like potentially she may be a production of Michigan live games. So I'm excited to see what she has going for her. And because she likes musicals, and I do too. So all those reasons.
Yeah, she was great in her interview, just so bubbly and easy to talk to and get to know. Like Carrie said, she likes musicals, so immediately we started talking. She did a semester abroad in London, talked about like the West End musicals there. So it was easy to get her talking and easy to get like her vibe, and like Carrie said, she gave off good vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
immaculate vibes.
Yes, the vibes were immaculate. So that was like my big thing too, is especially for minis where it's like, let's be real, we had a mini where an entire round was people talked about fucking Chipotle, but like she seems to be able to talk more than just one thing, which is great. I just also like her energy. I like her experience, but it's like not like too much experience where I feel like she's, I don't know, there's not a jaded sense to the gaming. So I think like she'll take it very head on. I believe she's one of the people in our interviews who also said like, I think she perceives herself more of a hero, but like in recent games has tried to do a little more villainous things. So I'm curious to see how she toes that line.
Benji.
I wonder who he'll pick.
All right. I'm gonna do something shocking. Erin, when you watch this back, I want you to look away for this time because I don't want you to see me absolutely lose my shit over having you on my draft team. Listen, no surprise. I am picking the one, the only Erin Sickrey. So I agree with everything you said about Michigan Live Games, which is also where Erin kind of originates from. Erin is also kind of the most recent player out of the alumni. So if they're looking at, just scrolling back down through the YouTubes and in preparation for this game, they may see Erin. And in which case, I think that there's some positive, there's some negative there. They may see Erin as a challenge asset. They may see Erin as a challenge threat. What I'm hoping they see Erin as somebody who is so loyal to her allies that they cry. Like she cries when they get voted out.
Yeah.
Like that is how much Erin cares about these bonds, cares about these games. And she's a vibes person, and a lot of times the early vibes are what determine the flow of the game. You don't have a whole lot of ability to flip and flop and flip and flop, and a lot of times it's what's your kind of starting group and how can you get as far with them as possible. And sometimes those early vibes are all you need. And that's one of the things that Erin really does well at. Plus she's a challenge threat, so I don't see people wanting to touch her early on. She has been very good at finding advantages. She's been good at the fun little cup games, and she's an icon. She's a legend. She is the moment.
Lily or Ian, do you want to weigh in on Benji's pick since you hosted Erin in this last long game?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that Benji said was spot on. I think also something that goes in Erin's favor for a mini is that she is going to make decisions. And I think that will help her align with people, or people feel comfortable talking to her because they know that it's not going to be this whole game of like waiting for her to say a name. Like she's going to be one of those people that like will be honest with you and tell you a name and stick with it. And I think once people recognize that, they'll want to take her far, and that might help kind of like let her get away with more in the end and might run off with it. I just hope what happened to her in Corkscrew Cove doesn't happen here, where she just becomes like too great of a player too early on. She just got to watch that threat level, which is, I think, easier to do in a mini because it's so easy to say, oh, I don't really know how that happened. Like that round was so fast, versus people knowing that you've spent, hours talking to specific people. So yeah, I think she's gonna do well.
Awesome. Erin is one of our 4 returning players that we have for this season. We thought a dinosaur theme would be the perfect twist to purposefully bring back some returning players. We love them as clutch alternates in the minis, but this time we really wanted to do a different twist to the minis, and we are excited to have Erin back. I think she's gonna really hit the ground running. So Alex, as someone who drafted Erin previously, what do you think about Benji's draft?
It's horrible. What a bad pick. You should have done better. You should have wanted to draft later. I'm kidding. I love Erin. I'm always going to be an Erin supporter. She's someone who I'm seeing is going to take charge early. I don't think she knows how to press on the brakes. It's only going to be from jump here, but not in a bad way. I think in minis especially, everyone's so used to just being quiet. I think she's going to be someone similar to a Kayla, who is like, hey, we should be talking. We should be moving around and actually getting to know each other to make a plan. So I think if all else, she's going to be good at setting the pace of this game. I would love to see her do very well. But we know Erin. Erin can be polarizing too. So this is high risk, high reward.
Yeah. All right, Lily, it is up to you. Who are you taking in the draft?
Okay, so I'm excited. Again, I'm going to preface this with, even though Emily, one of the few people I would lay down my life for, it's it's boring if I pick her. If she doesn't get picked before she comes around, I'm stealing her and you guys are crazy. But I am going to take JB. And the main reason why is because he's a mailman. And who the heck doesn't love their mailman? Okay. Tell me you've never stopped and talked to your mailman. Ours offered my dog a treat. Let me tell you. There's something about a mailman that gets people to open up. But in all honesty, he seems like his application, his photo, he's laughing, like his personality came through. And so I think that people are going to want to connect with him. And if he can use that like ability to draw people in and, create a little buffer around him, I think he'll go far. So yeah.
I will echo literally everything that Lily just said. I wanted JB. He was number one on my list, so I'm a little salty.
He was number one on
Um,
mine as well.
JB was just literally everything Lily said. The picture he submitted, his whole interview. He's got a bunch of Survivor themed tattoos, which I think is awesome. Yeah, very excited to see JB on the cast, see him play, and sad I did not get him on my team.
I am in love with JB. He was so great in the interview. Once he said like, "Oh yeah, I have Survivor tattoos," I was like, "That's it." Like, we're like, you're on the cast. So I think he's going to be a really fun addition to the game. Like Lily said, very charismatic and easy to get to know, but I think he also has a lot of strategy behind him, and that mailman facade will help the strategy in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think JB was like our first interview, and it really gave us good hope for what we were going to find with this cast, because the interview was amazing. Like, the charisma's there. I can see it. I don't know what Lily's talking about of all these amazing mailmen, because I've never experienced one. But I'll take Lily's word on it.
Get ready then. Get ready for Como Bluffs. You'll have your experience there.
Okay. Well, I don't know if he's gonna be delivering me mail. Maybe we'll be sending him stuff. Who knows? If he's good at finding advantages, we will be the ones delivering mail to him. But I'm excited. I'm just like, overall, I have an excitement for everyone here, but he's someone who, like, particularly I'm like curious to see how the gameplay goes once we start.
Alrighty, Ian. This is your first draft pick since Irariki Island.
And just as a reminder, you cannot draft Julia.
Yes, thank you for. I think it was Lawamanu Beach, actually, or did I?
No,
actually
you had JM and Connerita.
I drafted Connerita King, Fallen King.
Knife King.
All right. Lily just made this really easy for me. If I can't get Julia, I'm glad I get my water chugging queen, Emily Sullivan. She's personally eliminated me in a live game before, and while I used unkind language afterwards, it was not directed at her. But I have much respect for Emily Sullivan, and I'm so happy that she is a part of the first team I've had in 3 years.
Kyle, you previously picked Emily in our last mini draft. So talk about her and her potential this game.
I was gonna pick her again this time. She had so much potential. She got rocked out in the third round on a bad swap, so just a very bad situation. But the potential is there for longevity, for likability, the social game. I think she is a fantastic choice. Yeah, and I would have taken her. So yeah.
Awesome.
I had another option I was thinking about, but I feel like I want to see what happens at the end of this round.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm so excited for Emily to be back. She is another returnee, and when we were thinking of this season, Emily was one of the first people I thought of to come back, because I thought she had so much potential in Minetta Bank. I loved how her mind worked, and she just got rocked out, and it was so sad. So I am beyond excited for Emily to come back.
Personally, for me, Emily was one of like the big inspirations for when McKenna said like we should bring some returnees back into the mix. She was one of the first things that came to my mind because of just how she went out. Like, obviously, rocks is rocks, We've seen people who have gone out on rocks in pre-jury in their first game do very well in the second game. Shout out to Maddie, but it's
Hell.
everything's there. Everything's there for her. I think she's very personable. I think she has the strategy down. Like, I think she's able to articulate it well. And I feel if people have watched on her tribe and know her, I think they would see also that she's willing to like almost like bend over backwards to try to figure out a way to maintain her allies in the game. So much the fact that it all ended up in rocks, but
Yeah.
but I'm hoping that's not the experience this time. Like, regardless of placement, I hope like she just doesn't go out on rocks again.
All right, Austin, we are headed over to you for your pick.
Before I make my first pick, I have a fun little fact that I'd like to share. From both of the two drafts that I have been a part of so far, my team has taken the merge boot and second place both times,
That's
which
crazy.
is a very small sample size, but
That ain't
it
gonna
is
do
very
anything
much
for you in
still a
this draft,
fact.
Austin.
So whoever I draft here is just bound and determined to either be merge boot or second place. So take that as you will. For my first pick, I am going to go Team Ginger and pick Richard here. I'm very excited to see Richard play. Overall, like his interview, he just seems like a very like down to earth guy, and I just think he can get along with pretty much everybody. I just think he's gonna do well. Yeah.
Awesome. Carrie, you were around to, you've seen Richard's interview. What are your thoughts on Richard on this season?
I love Richard because Richard loves animals, and I was going to draft him next if he got back to me. So you're lucky he didn't, because anyone who loves animals is someone that I love. So I think, Austin, you got a good pick.
I also fell in love with Richard. I keep falling in love with the men of the season. It's shocking. But he came in, was like, oh yeah, I've seen all of the seasons, but maybe the first two. So he's like seen DCP's things. He DM'd Lydia on like, hey, I'm playing the game. What's the best way to find advantages? She obviously did not tell him anything because she is on production for the season, but he just is having this initiative for the game and DMing that he's like so excited to play, which, Austin, you keep picking people that just remind me a little bit of Lex. So he just has the excitement that Lex had coming into Trinity Falls, which was fun. But I'm excited to see what Richard can do. We've had good streaks for people who have like seen our stuff and like kind of studied up.
See, that part I don't care about. I love it. I love that he watched the stuff and is ready for it. I love the fact that I think he will unapologetically be a villain. Like the way that he describes his games, the previous game stuff that he mentioned in his interview. I just think like you need to have like not mean streak as being like a shitty person, but like a mean streak in like I'm willing to essentially cut your throat to get ahead in a game. Like I think he'll unapologetically do it and own up to all of it if he gets to the end, which is an interesting journey I would like to see, because like we haven't really seen that happen a ton in our games where like the villains really win.
Yeah.
We've had it a couple times, but like in a different way. I feel like Richard comes off differently there. But at the same time, as Garso said, I think he does have like a mellow side to him that could sort of be disarming to that. So like he can be friendly to your face, but while scheming everything around you.
Awesome. Well, Kyle, you have two back-to-back picks, so let's get your first one.
All right, for the first pick, I'm going with the one I feel is just going to be a really solid player in the game. the one that I'm most confident in. I'm going with Brien. I think Brien is going to have a lot of longevity in the game. He seems very even keeled in his interview. I hope that that doesn't hurt him in the early game where he's too laid back, and that's how you become a target very quickly early on in a mini. But I think that he's got a personability to him that he's going to go far in the game. And I think that if he gets to the end, I could see him getting some votes. So I just feel pretty solid about Brien, and I just like him, so I want him on my team.
Okay, my thoughts on Brien. Just looking through all of his things, I feel like I have a polarizing thought compared to what Kyle thinks. I think he's either going to be pre-jury, first boot of his tribe, or he's going to be like fourth place. I think there's like no in between for Brien, because I think he's either going to make those connections really well or not. And like be in that situation where you get pulled at the wrong time and you just like can't come back from it. I could see that happening to him. So I think it's either going to go really, really well for you, Kyle, or like the opposite. And I have no idea why I feel that way. It's just a gut feeling.
Yeah. Brien had I've texted Brien a little bit on the side, and he is just comes off with, so when I win the game, like he is very ready and set to play this game, excited, and like keep saying, so when I win, when I do this, when I do that. So if he's already got that mindset, I'm excited to see what he can do.
I also believe that he's a specialist patron as well. So like it all that to just say like all that to say like I think he just had like he loves Survivor. Like it's not just like, oh, I happen to be playing this game that is Survivor. Like, he loves Survivor. For whatever reason, and it has nothing to do based off this interview, but like just the vibe of it all, placement, potential there. I'm getting Sam out of him. Like someone who could potentially go out very early or ends up being like in this pseudo like good position come like merge where everyone needs his vote in order to keep moving along. But I want to see the one change from Sam's game in Another Bank where he makes the move in the late game that he can fully take ownership of, and that propels him to the win. I would love to see that journey for him. I can see Lilly's version of things as well, but I don't know. He's just giving me Sam vibes.
All right, Kyle, you've got another pick.
Okay, so for the second pick, I was thinking about going with a little bit more of a safe, known choice. In a former winner pick of mine, another one, Meredith. But I got the urge to just draft an absolute grenade. And there's nothing more explosive than John's friends. So I am taking the complete unknown with Elizabeth. I have no idea what to expect from Elizabeth, and that makes me kind of excited. Like I want just not knowing and watching her figure out the game as she goes along. She says she doesn't care about winning, so why would I draft her? But it's just she's John's friend. Like it's gonna be just a blast watching her, and so like I'm excited to have her on the team.
John, please give us more about Elizabeth. Make Kyle have the known maybe a little bit.
Well, in her own words, she is the best. Beth is the best. Okay. Beth is my roommate's younger sister, and she's quite a wild card. I think you're right there, Kyle. I'm really interested to see her play this. I knew immediately upon meeting her, which was like right when we opened applications, I was like, yeah, you should apply for this game. I think this is appropriate for you. Her and I actually have a grudge over Uno, and you know how we are here at DCP. We stand grudges over Uno, right, Carrie? So she is the type of person who's just a lot of fun. She's very, very personable. She comes off very innocuous at first, but once you start spending time like getting to know her, and once you see her in a game mode, you understand how ruthless she can be while coming off as like the sweetest person in the world.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch Beth play because, you know, this is so new to her. So I worry about, you know, the pre-merge portion, but I think once the merge happens, if she finds herself in a good spot, then I think she won't just be one of these people that, you know, might get dragged to the end because of inexperience. I think she might be able to navigate the game well with gaining experience from the pre-merge and early merge.
I played a lot of games with Beth, and I do know she picks up on them very quickly. So she makes it through that first round. Like, she makes it through her first tribal council, she'll understand the game.
Okay. Because I'm more of the Kyle thing where I'm like, I think you're absolutely right, John, just based off your description of her. Is like, I think as soon as she starts picking up the game, like, then she'll like be fully bought in. But it's the whole I don't care what my placement is, whatever. I'm like, okay, have fun, but this is a winning draft. This is a draft to win the game. And if you say you're fake, oh, I don't care if I win, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I totally see Beth winning this game. But
I support it, Kyle.
I think she'll be fun. Who doesn't love wild cards? Because like if her like lowest point or like lowest bar for her is like she gets a Selkirk levels, like that's a win.
Top tier.
Listen,
Like,
we are
Selkirk's-
not talking shit on the Kirka tribe on this call.
Who said I was talking shit? Selkirk gave to me still to this day the best confessional in DCP history. And I want to be on that bus if Beth is driving it.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, with John's friends, correct me if I'm wrong, outside of Selkirk, all the rest have made the merge. And
There's
mostly
the
have gone
exception
pretty
of Maddie
far.
getting rocked out by
Yeah, but she got second.
She wasn't
place.
voted
Yeah.
out.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, after Kyle's grenade of a pick, we are going over to Austin. And what is your reasoning for your next pick?
Because this person was also very high up on my list, so I came out lucky with the way this draft shook up. I am going to pick David for my second pick. David's interview was amazing. He is just like a very energetic, charismatic person. I just think he's gonna get along really well, with just about anybody that he gets put on a tribe with. And as we've said before, like that goes a long way, in a mini. So I just don't see people wanting to vote him out before the merge, like ever. Unless people are like, "Oh, this guy's just so likable. We need to get him out now while we can." Um, I also just like love like his hobbies. He likes to play video games. He tries to get out on a small adventure one time a week. And he does stand up. So like, what's not to like about stand up? He's gonna be able to get along with people. So I can see him going very far and potentially being able to win.
Awesome.
Has
Anybody
nothing to do with your Seattle bias, though, right, Austin?
Absolutely not.
See, this is where I wish we had Lydia here to speak on the Seattle of it all. But I liked David's interview. Like he was on an adventure during it, so it was like it took
He
a
was
little bit
on
to
a
like
boat.
fully hear it because his family and everyone was like talking in the background. But yeah, like he has so much he can talk on. And that's something like I said earlier with some of our other picks. It's like being able to talk about a bunch of just like random stuff that's personable early on in the game is so crucial when like, yes, you should be using all that time to talk game, but like you're not doing only game in these conversations because you want people to feel good about you. And David has the background, even at his like younger age, to like talk on all that stuff. And I think he's also on a starting tribe that I see him gelling with quite a few people there. So as long as he doesn't like completely shit the bed on challenges, like I should say like on paper he should make merge no problem.
Yeah, I'm excited for David to play. I feel like I have been saying that with everyone because I like believe in this cast so much. But David was on a boat in his interview, which was hilarious. So like best placement for interviews. And then he was also brought to us by Casey from Prometheus, and he was said in his app like Casey recommended it and I'm gonna win this game. So he also has that same like vibe of Brien of like when I win this, when I get cast, when I do XYZ. So I'm excited to see what that turns into. Ian, we are back to you. Where are we going?
We are going with someone I've hosted, Margret Kelly. I don't know if Margret can win, and this is a winner's draft, but I don't know any of these other people, so I don't care about them. I'm taking Margret, who I would call a friend. I think Margret is great. I think Margret is not only great TV, but she's also like really fun to have in like a powwow, like a tribe powwow. And I think in these minis, like, I don't remember who we were talking about earlier, but like Margret, might have been Erin, like Margret is going to talk. Like Margret doesn't do silence. So there will be conversation there. I don't know what the hell it'll be about, but she'll be talking. She'll be making friends. I was going to say when Erin was picked, the same thing that I was going to say for Margret whenever she came up. But I think what could hurt them in a mini, since they both played long games for us, what could hurt them in a mini is they are like, and not in a bad way, they're just emotional people. And you have to toss those aside very quickly in these games, or else you get caught up. And then by the time you figure out, like, by the time you've caught yourself, your name's on parchment and you're out of the game. So I really hope she can hold it together. I think, you know, she played in 2021 for us.
Wild.
Holy shit, that was a long time ago. 2022.
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, 20.
Sure.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's been
Either way.
21 was Exile, I'm pretty sure.
Either way, it was a long time ago, and I think like she's been one of those people who has talked and talked about playing again, and I think it's the perfect amount of time for her to come back like fully ready to play again. If Margret had played in like the mini after, I would never have chosen her ever. So yeah, I'm really excited to see Margret again, and I can't believe she made it to, what is this, pick 10, 11? So.
All right, Kyle, I've got to get your thoughts on Margret. You were on her cast for Monte Carlo. So what are your thoughts on Ian's draft pick here?
I think it's a good pick, as good of a pick as you can get at this point in the draft. Margret, I enjoyed playing with her. I can't say that I know exactly how she's going to play in this game, like how it's going to change from the first time. And Ian made a great point. She got caught up, and in a mini, you can get caught up a lot faster. So the game caught up to her in a long game that could get to her in a mini. So I really have no idea how she's going to play this. And I'm very, very interested to see.
What's going to be great about Margret in a mini, I think she might even do better than the long game because you don't have that time. I think she's just going to be like, all right, I've got to react, instead of like, oh, I'm stewing now.
Yeah.
Like you've just got to keep going and going. So I feel like this might be a better format for Margret's game.
I will echo that because I'm a fellow overthinker and I much prefer the mini format because I don't have the time to overthink everything. So yeah.
we will know how Margret is going to do, and I think Erin as well, after the first like 3 rounds of the game. Like you will be able to tell something bad's gonna happen in those 3 rounds, and they're gonna have to, you know, they're gonna have to adapt immediately. And if they don't, that's it. And if they do, that's good.
So I'm very intrigued by Margret being on here in the mini format, because I see it going one of both 2 ways here. And it's one is the path that you guys are all saying of like oh, with a faster paced game, like she'll be like forced into having to just like take that breath immediately and keep going. But like I also the fear is it doesn't go that way and it becomes like more like that fish out of water moment where you just feel so out of your element so quickly as soon as something doesn't go right. What I want to see out of her is I thought like at the end of Monte Carlo, her reads were starting to get like a lot better than when she was at the beginning of the game when she had like zero experience. Uh, but like I felt she was leaning too heavily on her allies there, so I would love to see Margret herself being even more proactive, especially early on in this game. Because like if she can talk and make those bonds immediately, and then you can just sit back and let things happen and allow those results to pivot your game forward. That's what I want to see out of her. I want to see that next step in her player evolution. And the mini's a perfect place for that.
All right. Well, we are moving on to Lilly. You have your final pick of the draft. Who is it going to be?
So I was going back and forth between two people, but I think I've decided I'm going to pick Joseph. And it really what solidified me was our whole talk about, people that are anxious or overthinking the game. Like, this is a long game. People are gonna be here all day, and you want to play with people that are gonna be fun. And I think that's what, like, Joseph, they're fun. And I think that, do you want like anxious Annie over here, like trying to figure out what's going on? Or do you want like Joseph, who is a little eccentric, but is really funny? And I think he's just going to have fun with the game. And I think a lot of people will want that in the long run, especially when you get merged. There's so much happening. I would want Joseph in my corner. So that's why I picked him.
I think the thing with Joseph is that if he gets through like the first 3 or 4 rounds of the game, he's going to be in a good position. I think the most dangerous time in the game for Joseph are those first couple of rounds. He comes off very cool and collected, but almost too cool and collected, and he knows this game really well. And even I can't even like we have more West Coasters this time around, but like sometimes being on the West Coast can be a detriment in these games because you're not waking up fast enough. And if that's the most dangerous time of the game for you is right at like 8 o'clock in the morning, that leaves me a little concerned. That being said, obviously he's very experienced in playing games, knows the game really well. I do think like he gets past those first couple of rounds, we will see him going very deep into this game.
I think he's also one of those people that's here to be a villain in this game and will be that, villain in like sheep's clothing a little bit. I kind of relate him a little bit in like character to JB. I feel like they are both like very strong personalities and then have a big like strategic back to them as well. Alex, you know of or know him from?
Yeah, so I wasn't on prod for it, but he was in like a little 2-day Survivor mini where he plays well. Like he got deep into that game. He did not win. I think he was like one of the last people voted out before the end of the game, but like made a deep run in it. I find him charismatic as hell. I see him with his high, I feel more high energy villainry going against and clashing, and will make some fun TV against Richard's more low key villainry.
Right.
So I think we're gonna have a villain off on one of these tribes, and that might force someone to leave early between those two, which would be sad because I want both of them to make the merge and have a true face off throughout the merge. But I think he has the potential. It's very boomer bust. I agree, John. But we'll have to wait and see.
All right, Benji, we are headed to you for the next pick. Where are we going?
All right. So I'm I'm a Survivor stats guy. I am a big fan of all of the kind of like, what are the fun little facts about like tribe divisions, challenge performance, all of these sorts of things. And one thing has always kind of stood out to me on these mixed seasons where there's like newbies and returnees, almost every single time a returnee makes final tribal. So I think just inherently, you know, you get a little bit more on your second try. You can maybe see some mistakes that you've made. You can maybe turn things around.
I do want to get more of your thoughts on Meredith, because you had a good friend play in that game. She was in Iriki with Garrett, and started on his tribe. She was almost an early boot. But what are your thoughts and confidences in Meredith coming in?
You know, I think it's really all about energy. Because the thing about almost an early boot is that she wasn't an early boot. So even at the very least, you can kind of like get these how to get out of sticky situations, and kind of getting out of a sticky situation in a mini is kind of a learned skill. And I think that it's really important to kind of have that experience, even though, you know, Iriki has been 3 years since Iriki?
I don't know. We did
It's been long enough.
years earlier.
It's been long enough. But honestly, I think that the experience comes into play, especially in a mini format, because some of these people are coming from, you know, long games to minis. I think mini to mini, especially with DCP, we like a specific style of challenge. We like a specific way of finding advantages. And even though it's not like specific one-to-one, like you'll know what to look out for. You'll know what skills you're good at. And I think that that's a really important thing to have. I think she brings a lot of good energy. And I think that, you know, if you're able to kind of capitalize on past mistakes and switch up, there's a really good path forward. And I think that she's got a good run in her. I have good vibes. I've got good feeling.
Awesome. Carrie, I mean, you've been on prod since day one. What are your thoughts on Meredith?
So I think ever since we had Iriki, I remember having a conversation with McKenna like next day, and McKenna being like, we gotta get Meredith back. Like, we gotta get Meredith back. And so this has like been an ongoing conversation we've had about Meredith coming back. And now here she is, and she's back. And so we're really excited about that. Meredith, I view as a super fun, chill gal. And I really just think that she ended up on the wrong tribe doing the wrong challenge. And I don't think that like that kind of thing would happen to her again. I think that she has a much better shot of going far this time around.
I agree. One, everyone sucked at all the challenges in Iriki, so like none of them really should hold that against her.
Yeah.
Let's be clear there. Two, yes, saying that she was on the wrong tribe is an understatement when she's completely unintentionally tribe fucked by Steven. Love you, Steven. But now all those people aren't here. She doesn't have to worry about the Iriki of it all. But what it did provide her, and Benji sort of like touched on it, is like she was put in essentially an unwinnable situation where, like, especially when you saw what happened with that tribe, like if she had survived the vote, she didn't go out before, she would have just went out in the next one just because of how the breakdown was. It had nothing to do with the game, and what people really wanted to do is based off who was on your original tribe. She doesn't have to really worry about that here. I think she has the skills. She has played games since. I think she can use that to really try to embolden her game for this time around.
Yeah, DCP was her first ever game, and so now she's done several orgs. She's done a few live reality games as well. So I think she has a lot more experience behind her and can really use that knowledge plus her knowledge of previously playing DCP to really navigate this mini well. So I see good things for her. Carrie, we are
You're
going to you. You have the final pick of the draft, and you are also deciding John's fate. Will you give him his friend, or will you steal it right from under him?
Will you be giving him the
This is
winner?
all part of my plan, by the way, Carrie. I wanted to give you the hardest decision of the draft.
Yeah, it is tough, but I don't think I'm gonna quote Lilly here. I don't think it's fun when people draft their friends. Therefore, I will be taking Connor, not just because he's John's friend, but it really does mean a lot that he's John's friend. Like, John's friends just keep delivering. Like, you cannot go wrong with a John friend pick. So, and I liked Connor a lot in his interview. He was like, well, I was expecting him to be like kind of like a frat bro, kind of, because he was at like a lacrosse thing, but he wasn't like that at all. He was super chill. And in his application, one of his hobbies is being tall, and I thought that was so funny. So I think that his castmates will like him, and I think he's gonna have a good time with the game.
John, please elaborate.
Connor is kind of unlike anyone we've had in one of these seasons before, because he is kind of that dude bro, frat bro vibe. He is a lacrosse player. He was at lacrosse nationals, like Carrie said, while we were doing interviews. He was drafted to play professional lacrosse, decided to go into coaching instead. I know him through like that same community that I know Sean and Selkirk and Kyle, that it's that whole like Magic the Gathering community. So he plays these strategic games. I also know Connor like stays up late at night min-maxing Pokemon strategies with other friends I have. So he has a knack for the game. He also has that compete level needed for the game. The question is, can he integrate his personality with these bigger Survivor fans? The thing is like, because Connor has had so many of his friends play, he's been watching our seasons. He knows what our games are. So he has an idea of what to look out for. He has an idea of how to approach the game. It's just a question of, can he take that theory and implement it into a practice?
Yeah. And just for clarification, you do have two friends on this cast. They do not know each other?
Not at all.
That's
they know the same people. Obviously, I'm one of the people that they
right.
know, but they have never interacted with each other.
All right. Well, we'll see.
I don't even know if they would recognize each other by name.
That's crazy, because we'll see if that happens again, because, you know, we had Maddie and Sean in Sahara Dune. So we'll see if they somehow figure out that you're their connection to this game. I'm excited for Connor. As a previous lacrosse player myself, I thought I just I liked that aspect about him. It was just like something that I would bond to him with. So I feel like with other parts of his like interests and likes, other people will bond to him because he has a wide variety of them. So I think he will get along well with his tribe.
Yeah, I think he's someone who can escape a first vote based off his personality alone and based off the tribe we have set up. When we broke it all down, how the players ended up being, I think he's on a tribe that could favor him, at least for the first vote. If he doesn't like pick things up after that, and he's in a group that's constantly going to tribal, I do have some fears, but because of just like his background, like you have the strategy games, you have the lacrosse, he's also someone who, similar to Beth, said, I don't care if I win or not, I'm here to just have a good time, like good time, not a long time type of vibe. But I need to see him once the first challenge is done. Especially knowing what the first challenge is. He just based off stereotype, he should do very well for his team. But
let's just hope he's not on a tribe with Meredith.
I want to see if that like really pumps him up to be like, I'm now invested in the game. And once I see him invested, then I'm gonna buy in more and more the longer he stays.
All right, John, you were gifted a castaway. Please talk about your best draft pick, Logan.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel so lucky to have Logan. Logan goes way, way back in DCP history, all the way back to when we had trivia. He
also
watched our
did
Survivor
trivia.
videos. Yeah, he did trivia back in the day for us. And that's hype, honestly. And also, McKenna, I was kind of talking over you. Did you say Sarah Jones? Because that is also fantastic.
No, I said Sahara Dunes. That's when he like started applying for the game, but he just could never make it work. So like now he like actually is here and ready to make it work. So like
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him play.
Yeah, but he also
Also-
sold the couch to Sarah Jones.
And if
And,
you
like,
can
that's-
sell a couch,
That's pretty
too.
badass. Like,
Yeah.
if you could sell a couch to a Survivor player, you know what? I think you can sell yourself to a cast of Survivor players. I'm really stoked on Logan. He definitely has a strategic mind through the game. He thinks through his actions, just based on his Expedition mini and like the movie pulls off at Final Four in that instance, like or Final Five at that instance, and like going into Final Four and everything. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to evaluate where votes are, and that is honestly something that a lot of people underestimate in these games. A lot of people don't do the math as to where votes are going to fall. And we see a lot of like groupthink sometimes, especially in a mini, when people are trying to gain their footing. So if Logan can come into this game and he can just figure out like the numbers a little bit to kind of swing a vote in his way early, I think he could really take control of this game and go very far.
Austin, you mentioned he was higher up on your list to me. So talk to me about why you were stoked for Logan.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised that Logan fell to the very last pick of the draft. Because I was actually going back and forth between David and Logan for my second pick. So I just think, I mean, I'll echo what John said, but I just think Logan it has probably one of the best like strategic minds of the cast, I think. So I think as long as he can make it through those first couple rounds, because I think he's just in general more even keeled and just laid back. So as long as he's able to talk enough and get along with his starting tribe, I think once he hits the merge, he's just going to be able to flip a switch on that strategic mindset and just run away with the game potentially.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was an absolute steal to have him at the bottom of the draft. But it goes with what the cast is. Like, there's, it's what you're like. Obviously, this is a draft to draft a winner, but like, as we all draft these, like, it's also like who you believe you're gonna have fun with watching the game, and like, I think you can't go wrong with anyone here. Logan's also someone who I actually have as like as a winner upside candidate before the game starts. I think he does have a very good mind for the game. I think he's very level-headed, but I don't think he's too quiet. If he is too quiet, that's where I'll be concerned, because I think he will give off the impression to people that he is strategic, which if you lose a challenge early and you're quiet and look strategic, you will be voted out. So don't do that, Logan. I'm not trying to wish that upon you 12 hours before this game starts. So I'm excited for him. I thought he would be drafted higher, to be honest. But
John's
good,
happy.
good job, John.
Very happy he wasn't.
All right, so we are just going to wrap up our picks now, starting with John. Say who you got.
I have Julia Rowe and Logan.
I have Ava and Connor.
I have Erin and Meredith.
I have JB and Joseph.
I have Emily and Margaret.
I have Richard and David.
And I have Brien and Beth, but I'm gonna have a hell of a time watching this game tomorrow.
I
Kyle, damn
love
it.
that, Kyle. We are all gonna have a hell of a time watching this game. And just stay tuned for the first episode of Como Bluff. We are stoked to be able to give you this amazing season, a first ever twist of like a returnee plot point in our seasons aside from All Stars. And we're ready to kick things off. So give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got one of those. We got a TikTok too. We got all the things, but also make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell on YouTube, and you'll know when everything goes live. And we will see you with the first episode of the season.